Fight and Talk back again, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Bailey Gilbert ahead of his bout against Tom Mearns on Cage Warriors 157. And look, it's a massive card, but before we look at this fight coming up, if we rewind the clock, of course, this will be your Cage Warriors debut. Of course, you were meant to make it in Manchester. It didn't quite happen. From your side, what sort of happened there with that late pullout of your opponent, obviously?
Yeah, mate, so basically what happened was I got a message a few days out he wasn't going to make the fight. He was injured. They did say like he is actually injured, like he's out of the fight. He had like medical proof, whatever. So just moved on to the next one and just get back in there, go again. It was a bit of a sickener at the time, but it just means I've had more time to improve, more time to get better, and it just means I've basically put 2 fight camps into this one. As soon as I found out I wasn't fighting, I never stopped training. So I've just built on that and then ready to go again.
I know obviously the last time we spoke, we sort of reflected on a year of winning them 3 belts, and you'd said, look, the phone's not stopped ringing with all the different offers. You did ultimately decide to go with Cage Warriors. Can you tell us a bit about your decision to go with them?
Yeah, so I ended up going with Cage Warriors just because like it's Europe's best promotion, and like everyone says like that's the route to the UFC, that's the route you go. And I also think like all the best guys do go to Cage Warriors, so that's the kind of the company I want to be associated with, and that's where I want to be. And the Cage Warriors have been great this whole time as well. Like they are really good to work with. But yeah, like if you want, just being a Cage Warriors fighter, it's a lot better. It sounds better, doesn't it? And it's the route. It's the route we'll go, and the goal is the UFC. So yeah.
How nice is it then as well with the now being signed to the likes of a Cage Warriors that when that fight fell through, they've pretty much put you on almost the next card. You know what I mean? Obviously, we've got Wales coming up next weekend, but then that London card, a massive card as well. But how nice is that for you now to almost have that guarantee that if something happens like it did, they'll try and get you matched straight away again?
Yeah, it's good, man. It's like I said, they are really good to work with. I'm excited. I like Manchester would have been good because it's close to home. But like London's just as good. Like fighting the night before the UFC's on. Like I think that's a great opportunity in itself, and like the London card's pretty stacked, so I'm just as happy to be a part of that one.
Look, you mentioned the UFC will be in town, and with this being the Cage Warriors debut, how important, I guess, almost like a twofold question this, is it one, to make a big statement on your Cage Warriors debut, and two, to do it the night before that massive UFC London card?
Yeah, so I always treat every fight, like every next fight's the biggest one because you're only as good as your last performance, and that's the one what people will look back on. So I'm always trying to outdo myself every fight. So yeah, it was a big deal doing making the Cage Warriors debut anyway, but it's just a little bit more special getting to do it at London.
If we look at the fight then itself, of course, you will be taking on Tom Mearns, a guy who really sort of spun his career around. I think he was on like a 4 or 5 fight skid, and then got them 3 wins back to back, coming into this on the back of the loss, to Milad Hadi. Big name, big opponent, a guy who's a gritty veteran. What do you make of Tom Mearns as an opponent?
Yeah, I think it's a great fight for us. I rate Tom. I remember watching him fight Milad live, and I've obviously studied him. And he's a tough guy, and he's well rounded as well. I know he's a good wrestler, but he comes from like a kickboxing background back in the day. Like it's a great fight for us, and it's going to be an entertaining fight, and that's what's interesting. So like it's going to be a good one to make a statement with. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, it's a great fight for us.
If you compare yourself and Tom, then skill set to skill set, where do you see yourself having the advantages in this one?
So for me, I just think I'll be able to pull away from him. I think I'll be able to put a pace on him. I think I'll just outwork him, and that's skill wise as well. Like he's skilled, he's very well rounded. So am I. But I just think the difference is in like the athletic capabilities. I just think I'll pull away from him. And I say this every fight that I get better as the rounds go on, but then the fights keep finishing in the first. So like we'll see what my gas tank's really like. We'll find out. Maybe.
With them giving you somebody like Tom as well. Look, like I mentioned, he was on that 3 fight run just before that Milad Hadi fight. That really sort of puts him near the very top of the division. For Cage Warriors to be matching you against somebody like this in your first fight, what does that say to you about where the promotions see you in that 145 division?
Yeah, Cage Warriors have always been. They wanted me long before I actually signed with them. that like I actually told them. They came speaking to Rick and we said, look, this is what we're going to go do. We're going to win this belt and this belt, and then we're going to come to Cage Warriors. So it was always good to get that hype going first and then go there. I think that's why they've given us a little bit of a good test for me first one. So yeah, we'll see where it takes us. Prove them right when we'll get this debut all the way, and then we'll go from there and see what's next.
If we look at the division as a whole, then I know there's a few other featherweight bouts on this card, but I mean, it's a shark tank of a division, arguably probably one of the best, I'd say, in the promotion. What do you make of that Cage Warriors featherweight division? And I know sort of it's hard to say because you've not fought there yet, but where do you see yourself stacked up in that division?
Yeah, so I was actually talking to a friend about this today. Like the Cage Warriors featherweight division is stacked, and it's a very interesting division, and there's no easy fights in any of the Cage Warriors anywhere. But I just think that the featherweight division is just killer after killer, and it's going to be tied in amongst all that. Like it's exciting for us. So like I'm just looking forward to getting in amongst it and getting stuck in and putting the yellow gloves on and showing them what it's all about. And yeah, in regards to where I am in the division, I guess we'll just find out.
Even on little things like that there, you've just mentioned pulling on the yellow gloves, that whole fight week experience you're going to get, which I guess you've not really had on these domestic shows. How much are you looking forward to just having this whole fight week? And I know we mentioned it before, when the UFC are in town as well.
Yeah, so I like the whole thing, like fighting for Cage Warriors, and that's massive. But like, I treat every fight the same, whichever promotion it is. Like, the thing is, this has been my goal since I had my first fight and I won my first fight, and I realized that from then on, this is what I wanted to do as a career and what I wanted to dedicate my life to. So every fight, whichever promotion it's been for, has meant the world to me. Like, my whole life revolves around this. Like, so regardless of that, I'll always be fine. Like my last fight was my biggest test, my biggest fight, my most dangerous opponent, the biggest stakes for what it was for the belt on golden ticket, and that was the calmest I'd ever been. I've just got myself into a groove now where I've got the camp down and I'm just improving and the confidence is high and just everything's like fits into place perfectly when I do it now. So yeah, like I just love it.
Look, Thomas Paul now as well has just signed as well with Cage Warriors, of course, being the last fight there you won about on golden ticket. In terms of opponent with Tom Mearns, do you see him as your toughest test to date, or where would you rank him in sort of your opponents you've faced so far?
Yeah, I think Tom's a tough test. Like you said, he's a vet and he's fought some good guys. So yeah, I would definitely say it's my toughest test. But if they're not getting harder as you move up, then what's the point? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's a great test for us. Like you said, he's been in some good fights and he is a tough guy. So yeah, I'm intrigued and it'll be exciting.
I know, look, for yourself, it's not ideal getting this first fight sort of halfway through the year, but how active are you looking to be? Let's say you get through this one totally unscathed. How active are you looking to be this year?
You already know when the next one after this is. You already know, right? We're not going to beat around the bush here. You know I've got to be on that Newcastle card. So that's the next one after this.
How amazing is it to have them coming back up here after 9 years out? I mean, I know when I seen the email, I text Brad Morton straight away. I was delighted, but for you as a fighter to be able to get a home show as well. I mean, you've been on the road for a lot of your career now. So how nice will it be? I know obviously the BFC belt was in Middlesbrough, but how nice will it be to fight on a big show in a big arena like that Virtue Motors Arena in front of a home crowd with them yellow gloves?
Yeah, mate, it's so sick, man. Like to fight because I was saying this when I first signed is that I would love for Cage Warriors to come back up here. I'd love to see it back up here because of the talent that's up here and for myself as well. But like it'd been 9 years and you just didn't know what was going to happen. And then when I went on Instagram, I'd seen the announcement. I was like, right, and then loads of people sent us it, tagged it, and I was just like, yeah, man, that's got me written all over it. So yeah, I'm proper excited for that one. But like, focus on the task at hand, get this one out of the way first, and then look towards that one. But yeah, man, that's so sick.
Of course. And look, final one from me then. For Cage Warriors fans who maybe haven't seen you fight before, what can they expect from a Bailey Gilbert performance? And can I get a prediction off you as well for how you see this one going?
Mate, nothing but violence. Same thing every time. We like to be exciting. We like to put people away. So that's what's going to happen. He's a tough guy, but I don't see it going 3 rounds. And if it does, it's going to be a long 3 rounds for him.
Perfect. Look, Billy, that's great. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
No worries, man.